Up, I'll tell you why, and we'll talk about a big warm-up. Possible dangerous heat is ahead. This is KX News at noon, and it begins right now.
We have information on the deadly tragedy at a festival in California. We'll tell you why this man has dedicated himself to biking to 10 different states. And we spoke with the newly crowned Miss North Dakota International to hear what effort is dear to her heart.
Putting North Dakota first. KX News at noon starts now.
Good afternoon, I'm Sonji Milburn, and thanks for joining us today. In our top story, one unlucky person gets close and personal with nature. A tourist visiting a national park in North Dakota has been injured by a bison. Officials at Theodore Roosevelt National Park say the 17-year-old victim from Colorado was on a trail Saturday and walked between two bull bisons that had been fighting. One bison charged a teen who was struck in the back, gored in the thigh, and tossed about 6 feet in the air. Park rangers and Billings County paramedics treated the teen at the scene until the victim could be taken by helicopter to a Bismarck hospital. Authorities say the teen is in stable condition. Park regulations require that visitors stay at least 25 yards away from large animals, such as bison, elk, deer, and believe it or not, horses. Now, 3 people are dead after a mass shooting at the Gilroy Garlic Festival in California. The youngest victim was just 6 years old. The gunman was dressed in tactical gear and armed with an assault rifle that he had used to open fire on the crowd. Police say they responded within a minute of the first shot. The suspect was shot and killed after officers confronted him, and he was later identified as a 19-year-old man from Gilroy. Police are also looking for a second suspect described as a possible accomplice. The festival normally attracts more than 100,000 visitors over 3 days. 15 people were injured in the shooting, and some of them are in critical condition. It's violence that compelled a Michigan man to travel the country and take action. Scott Height made a stop in North Dakota yesterday, and he is traveling to 10 states on a bike to promote his Wait One hotline. It's for people thinking of committing gun violence against others. His journey started on May 22nd, and since then he's been spreading awareness along the Missouri River. Height says this hotline will save lives since there are many active shooters in today's society that just need someone to talk to.
I saw a video of the Colorado movie theater shooter, and he called a mental health hotline while he was in his car preparing to go into the movie theater, and no one answered the phone. And when I saw that May 4th, I decided right then that there was going to be a permanent hotline.
His goal is to end up in Michigan, and when he reached there, he will have traveled 3,000 miles. A 36-year-old man was arrested after a police pursuit Sunday evening. The Burley County Sheriff's Department says it began on Highway 1804 South after someone called and reported a reckless driver. A deputy found the 36-year-old David Patch driving on the highway and attempted to make a traffic stop. Authorities say Patch fled but was eventually stopped near 52nd Street on Lincoln Road. He refused to get out the car, and a sheriff's deputy wouldn't specify but told KX News they used less lethal means to get the driver out his vehicle. Patch was arrested on 6 charges: reckless endangerment, felon in possession of a firearm, resisting arrest, fleeing a police officer, DUI, and possession of a controlled substance. No one was injured in the altercation. Traffic remained to normal no longer than 7:15 Sunday night. A Devil's Lake man died when he crashed his car into an electric utilities pole Saturday evening. You can see the man's car engulfed in flames here. One of our viewers happened to witness the scene around 6:30 Saturday night. The 52-year-old was driving a pickup truck south on Highway 20, about 3.5 miles south of Devil's Lake. The truck ran off the road and collided with the pole. As you can see, the vehicle caught fire. The driver was alone in the truck, and authorities say he died at scene. A North Dakota woman earned the crown of Miss International this weekend, and she's using her platform to promote suicide prevention. This is Ava Hill from Kendrick. After winning Miss North Dakota International earlier this year, she competed against women from all across the world for the title Miss International. The pageant puts an emphasis on charities and causes. Hill says she survived an attempt at taking her own life about 4 years ago. So she's representing the Patent Heart Project. Part of what the charity does is give out thousands of these paper hearts.
Place them all over the world. They've been to every U.S. state and over 60 countries worldwide. We leave them in movie theaters or restaurants. We hand them to our loved ones, and they're just a reminder that you are loved.
Hill and her family are headed to New York City to see herself up on Times Square. Let's stay on this pageant circuit. A Minot teen is preparing for the event of a lifetime to compete in the Miss Amazing pageant, made for girls and women with disabilities.
My pageant.
And when is your pageant?
August 2nd.
14-year-old Bella Burkhardt is North Dakota's first Miss Amazing. And as you heard her say, she will be competing in the national pageant on Friday. She and some of Team Bella took some time to sell t-shirts to supporters in Minot, including Minot's fire chief. The chief arrived in style on a fire truck with several firefighters in tow. Bella has had quite the ride herself leading up to her pageant days.
The things she's had to learn, introducing herself and a dance routine that she has to do on stage by herself, and just letting her joy shine through to people she's never met before when she competed in the regional pageant down in South Dakota. She just really excelled in ways that we never would have imagined.
Now Bella is ready. She's been practicing her introduction, her solo dance routine, and everything in between to get ready for the pageant. She will be up against 29 contestants in her age group. The Security Studies Master's Program at the Naval Postgraduate School is the first of its kind, and it's highly exclusive. But a man from Mandan has secured a spot. Darren Hansen has been with the North Dakota Department of Emergency Services for over 5 years. Now he's one of 32 people nationwide to be accepted into the Security Studies program. It's an 18-month online and in-resident program where he will be learning more about policies, strategy, and organizational design challenges. Hansen tells me what made him interested in the first place.
Really interested in just lifelong learning. It's something I think makes the difference between an ordinary and an extraordinary person, is just that little bit of extra. And I thought this was something that would benefit not only me in my career, but definitely the state of North Dakota as we try to expand what we can do and do more with less.
Hansen has to read 13 books by September 3rd in order to prepare for the program. It was a discovery 65 million years in the making. A California student and a North Dakota professor recently found and dug up the skull of a Ceratops in the Badlands. In continuing coverage, Renee Cooper introduces us to Harrison Duran.
So I knew the second I saw it what it was.
This was the college student's very first excavation. Duran is a biology major. He and Michael Challand, who met at a conference, traveled to the Badlands and unearthed the dinosaur skull. They found the Triceratops June 4th, the fourth day of the excavation. The pair named it Alice, after the owner of the land it was discovered on.
We could see a horn, a base of a horn sticking out a few inches above the ground and then receding into underground.
This look into the past also took Duran back in time. He said since he was a child, he's loved dinosaurs.
It was just always something that captivated my imagination as a kid and installed this sort of love for discovery.
He knows just how many searched their whole lives without a find like this, and said less than 100 have been discovered throughout history.
It's almost like a spiritual experience. It's almost like seeing a celebrity. You know, when you see a Triceratops, like an iconic kind of species.
The pair now wants to share Alice with the world.
We still haven't decided on our final resting place, but we want to be able to move the skull around to different locations and make sure the public gets the best view of her.
Duran said it's possible more of this skeleton is at the dig site. The pair plans on going back when the weather allows, but are keeping the exact location a secret.
Still to come on KX News, even though summer is in full effect, are there waiting lists for student vaccinations? We'll fill you in. And Amber will have all the details on this cooler weather when we come back.
Now, your local weather with the KX Storm Team.
And good afternoon. We've got a nice and quiet start to the work week. Temperatures certainly feeling really chilly out there for July 29th. Take a look at the satellite and radar. This is telling. You can see a few clouds off towards the east. Most of us are cloudless right now. There still are a few clouds lingering for parts of central North Dakota, but the reason why is this upper level low to the northeast of us has drug a cold front down towards the southeast, and we've got a little friction there creating some clouds, taking it with it as that cold front continues to traverse to the southeast. High pressure is slipping in right behind it, which is helping to keep us nice and clear. Now, I've been watching this DOT camera all morning, and we started off with some thick stratus clouds over the lake here. Now you can see these clouds are decreasing. So beautiful scenery out there. And of course, speaking of beautiful scenery, lots of gorgeous pictures have been coming in to the storm team over the last few days of the beautiful sunrise and sunset we've been having. And you can see Lake Betagoshi. This gorgeous picture was sent in from Addison over the weekend. This happened to be on Saturday night. And then another picture, actually, I think I might have taken that one out. I might have slipped it in somewhere else. But I do have one more picture I wanted to show you that was incredible. That's gotten a ton of social media traction. Temperatures are back into the 60s for right now. We're 68 in Bismarck and 66 there in Minot, 67 in Williston, and dew points are pretty low. We're in the 40s and the 50s for those dew points, and these are not going to rise for today, which means we've got a pretty comfortable forecast as we head into the afternoon. Now the temperatures are going to also stay pretty low as well, so the wind speeds will make it feel pretty pleasant out there, light and from the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. So this week we've got a very cool and sunny start, but things are changing as we head towards the middle of the work week. In fact, we've got increasing heat and humidity as we head towards the middle of the work week, and several rain and storm chances really beginning tomorrow evening. Now the highs today are again going to be unseasonably cool. We're back into the 70s, so that's pretty chilly for many of us, and off to the east here, that's kind of the unseasonable low 70s. But we're looking at some pretty chilly temperatures for today for July 29th, but things change for tomorrow. Here's the forecast for the rest of the day. Pretty quiet out there. Light wind speeds will shift overnight and become southerly. Now that's important as we head into Tuesday, and because the southerly wind will help to warm us up here. It will get a little gusty as well ahead of a warm front, and that's going to move through overnight on Tuesday night. Here's 9 p.m. on Tuesday, that entering the northwest and then pushing through the state. These storms at this point look to be garden variety, but they do have some features that could make them stronger. So we'll be watching these into early Wednesday morning, but then we'll have a nice and sunny day on Wednesday once we get those out of here the first half of Wednesday. But the highs tomorrow, again, warming back up with that southerly wind, lots of 70s and the 80s. And as we head through the next few days, we're really going to continue cranking the heat up because we're starting our warming trend tomorrow, and we continue with the 90s on Wednesday for Dickinson, low 90s in Williston on Wednesday. And actually, it looks like Thursday will be one of the warmer days of the forecast. Some low 90s on Thursday, and then we'll keep the 80s for the weekend. This is the Minot 7-day forecast. Several chances for evening rain and storms. Bismarck, more of the same. Lots of upper 80s there. It looks like we'll keep a pretty hot forecast, and we are going to be cranking up the humidity with this heat as well, Sonji, so it is going to feel kind of muggy for the second half of the work week.
Thank you, Amber. Back to school time is getting closer and closer every day. That means it might be time to schedule a visit with your child's doctor. The age groups that require back-to-school vaccines are kindergarten, 6th or 7th grade, and about 16-year-olds or a junior high student. Those vaccines include chickenpox, DTP, polio, measles, mumps, rubella, and for those middle schoolers, meningitis. North Dakota does allow for religious and philosophical exemptions, but many doctors do not suggest going without.
If those diseases that are preventable show up in the school system, then their child is excluded from school during the time that it's running through the school system. So it could be a week, but it could be 2 or 3 months that they wouldn't be allowed to attend school, depending on how long it takes for the outbreak to go through the system.
Dr. Peterson says she herself is just about booked up throughout September. But be on the lookout for walk-in clinics that may pop up in the coming weeks in your region. Still to come on KX News, and this week's Raising North Dakota will tell you how to try and keep your kiddos mosquito-free. And Amber will wrap things up with a last look at the forecast.
You're watching KX News, putting North Dakota first.
Mosquitoes are in full force and ready to feed. While you may douse yourself with a layer of bug spray, you may be a little more hesitant when it comes to your child. So how do you protect your little ones? Alicia Huck explains in this week's Raising North Dakota.
Mosquitoes. They may look harmless, but when they rise in the masses from the grass beneath your feet, you seek cover. Your kids, on the other hand, could care less. So how do we safely protect them from mosquito-borne illnesses such as West Nile virus? Most of us, like daycare director Shelley Hauge, reach for the bug spray.
I just want to make sure that whatever they have to use, that we apply it before we go outside. So I'm really, nervous about the whole West Nile thing. So
Hauge and staff carefully spray repellent into their hands, and they cover each child from head to toe. But there are some parents who are leery of using chemicals on their children, such as DEET, which is found in most bug sprays.
that is a big fear, is the chemical stuff. And I have had parents that have brought homemade things that they've made, and so that's perfectly fine too.
While experts consider DEET one of the most effective ways to prevent mosquito bites, the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Center for Disease Control do not recommend using DEET on children younger than 2 months of age or no more than 30% DEET on older children. So how do we protect our youngest and most vulnerable?
We have to have like the mosquito netting or something around a pack and play or a stroller. So I have done something like that before, so just to get the fresh air.
Some caregivers turn to chemical-free repellents as well, and there are many to consider. And with that being said, it is up to you, the parent, to decide what is best for your kiddo.
So I think you just have to be aware of what age and what the mosquito population is doing right now. So when it's been really hot out, they're not out very much, but on a cooler day, then they're in the grass and they're all floating around, and of course windy days in North Dakota, then they kind of blow away.
Reporting for KX News, I'm Alicia Huck.
Over the years, there have been scattered reports tying DEET to health concerns, but they have all been debated or debunked, and experts who have studied the chemical deem it safe. However, experts continue to study DEET for health concerns. Mosquitoes aren't usually very picky when looking for someone to bite, but there are certain factors that make some more appealing. Some studies say about 80% of what attracts the biters is related to genetics. Your blood type plays a huge role too. Type O blood gets more bitten than most, though one of the main attractors, just breathing. You join the group of most prone if you've been drinking alcohol, working out, are pregnant, or even overweight, because your body is warmer, working harder, and breathing more. Because breathing is a leading attractor, mosquito traps are made to mimic humans by producing CO2 as well as other chemicals like those found in sweat. Stay with us. KX News at Noon will continue right after this.
You're watching KX News, putting North Dakota first.
North Dakota has more than 64,000 registered watercrafts. In this week's segment of North Dakota Outdoors, Mike Anderson explains how the Game and Fish departments help ensure access to lakes and rivers.
North Dakota Game and Fish manages around 450 lakes across the state, and many of them have boat ramps. Keeping them maintained and constructing new ones makes for a busy summer.
Once we have these facilities in, there's a lot of upkeep that goes along with them, as far as rip-wrapping from high water and high waves and stuff that cause erosion, to updating courtesy docks and fishing piers and vault toilets, fencing, signing. There's many things that you're always going back to keep them up and running.
Today, Wes Ertl and his crew are building a new ramp on North Lake Washington in northeast North Dakota.
2 weeks ago we showed up here with some heavy equipment. What we did is we built the road in, an entrance road, built the turnaround, built a launch area, prepped the bed up above the water and below the water, and then started setting forms and pouring concrete.
Ertl says it takes about 3 to 4 weeks to complete a new ramp. Once the first slab of concrete has cured for 10 days, then the next step begins.
The next step is we'll push this slab in today, we'll dowel into it, we'll set new forms up above, reset that bed up above, set new forms, and then pour another slab, 60-foot slab, and then that will have to cure another 10 days before we can come in and rip wrap it and put in the courtesy dock and finish graveling and items like that.
After a ramp is complete, Game and Fish partners with local entities.
These entities consist of either local wildlife clubs, county and city park boards, and then also other government subdivisions. Once all this work is done, we need somebody to keep up the day-to-day operations on those.
Ertl says another important key to new ramps is private landowners.
Most of these lakes are surrounded by private land, and we have to gain easements through private landowners, and we rely heavily on that. We build relationships, we keep relationships, just to keep that trust up between them and the department themselves.
This is Mike Anderson in the North Dakota Outdoors.
For more information on what lakes have boats, ramps, and facilities in North Dakota, visit Game and Fish website at gf.nd.gov.
And as you could see there, when they were building that ramp, the weather was so amazing. And so I want to show you this picture. I love weather like this because we get amazing photos from viewers. This is as promised. I wanted to show this picture before the show was over near Medora, of course, looking off into the beautiful landscape. We want to thank Jody for that picture. Temperatures, as we head through the rest of your afternoon, will rise into the 70s. And then this is the coolest day this week because we'll see 80s and 90s for the remainder of the work week for most of us. Tom Schrader will have the latest on the heat and the humidity on KX News at 5.
Thank you, Amber. Coming up at 5, want a taste of the holiday spirit? You're in luck. Tonight, Sanford Health and the Savory Dogs celebrate Christmas in July. Why you won't want to miss this game. Thank you for joining us. See you tomorrow.